Welcome back to the Order and Chaos Show. I am your host, Ron Bell, and this is our first episode. If you joined me on the previous episode 0, that was just an introduction into the to the platform and to the content of the shows and what kind of just a little insight of what I will be discussing. And today's topic, jumping straight into it, is when silence becomes instruction. Now, this isn't a loud conversation. There will be pauses, there will be space. And if silence makes you uncomfortable, that's not a problem. That's part of the point. Most people think that they're afraid of chaos when they're not. What they are afraid of is silence, because silence removes distractions and it leaves you alone with yourself. And for a lot of people, that's unbearable because we live in the noisiest era in human history. Well, music while we drive, podcast while we walk, TV on in the background, phones buzzing every few minutes. We've normalized constant input, and then we wonder why stillness feels uncomfortable. We don't sit down with our thoughts anymore. We drown in them. And every now and then, life forces silence on you and on us. And not the peaceful kind of silence, the kind where there's nothing to distract you, there's no noise, and there's no escape. And that's when people discover something very uncomfortable. Their mind has been trying to tell them something, and they haven't been listening. Silence doesn't create discomfort. Silence reveals discomfort. And here's the mistake that people make. People mistake silence, or people think that silence causes anxiety, but it doesn't. Silence is diagnostic. Just like a fever is diagnostic, a headache is diagnostic, low oil on your car is diagnosing a problem. Silence is also introspectively diagnostic. If silence brings you peace, then your life is probably aligned. If silence brings agitation, if it brings rumination or panic, something is unresolved. Silence doesn't judge you, it just shows you what's already there. And this idea isn't new. Ecclesiastes understood something that we've forgotten, that wisdom isn't constant action, but it's discernment in the moment. Ecclesiastes 3, verses 7 and 8 reads, there's a time to tear and a time to mend. There's a time to be silent and a time to speak. There's a time to love and there's a time to hate. There's a time for war, and there's a time for peace. Now, most people skip the hardest part of that passage, a time to be silent. Most people don't lack strength, they lack patience with themselves. The ancient thinkers understood this, and we seem to have forgotten it over time. Strength wasn't found in constant stimulation. Strength is found in self command. Because if you can't sit quietly with your own thoughts, the world controls you. Silence is where you learn restraint, and restraint is the foundation of character. Silence isn't punishment, it's training, and it teaches you not to react to every impulse, not to chase every distraction, and definitely not to flee discomfort. People who fear silence tend to fear discomfort, and people who practice silence develop resilience. So I want you to try something this week. 10 minutes, no phone, no music, no input. Just sit. Don't force your thoughts away. Don't wrestle with them. Just observe. What shows up is what you've been avoiding. There's an old idea that shows up in the myths across culture. And the idea of the dragons who hoard gold. Now, why do dragons hoard gold? Because gold is valuable, not just to one person, but to everyone. And here's the part that most people miss. What we value the most is found where we least want to look. The dragon doesn't guard the gold by accident. The dragon represents chaos, fear, the parts of ourselves that we want to avoid. And if you want the gold, meaning, wisdom, integrity, purpose, you don't get that by going around the dragon. You have to face it. But this isn't about slaying something external. The dragon lives inside us. The real dragon lives inside us. And the task isn't to destroy it, it's to confront it. That's what becoming a hero really means. Not a hero the way movies sell it. Not the white knight on a galloping horse, armor shining, sword raised, ready to conquer the world. That image is comforting. It really is. And that's what we all at one point in time probably see or saw ourselves as. Maybe. But that image is mostly fantasy. Real heroes look a lot more ordinary. Sometimes they look like Frodo Baggins, a small, unremarkable, everyday hobbit from a quiet place who never asked for greatness. Frodo didn't defeat the dragon by being powerful. And I do want to preface that I'm not misaligning Frodo with Bilbo. Okay? I'm using the dragon as an analogy. Bilbo Baggins fought Smaug. Frodo did not. I get it. Just track with me. But Frodo didn't defeat his dragons by being powerful. Frodo was a little hobbit. He had to become something he wasn't. He had to become a thief. He had to lie. He had to deceive. He had to kill. Not because he was evil, but because the world demanded something more complex than innocence. And that transformation didn't happen through noise. It happened through endurance, through silence, through sitting with himself long enough to gain wisdom. That's the part that people don't want to hear. You don't become who you were meant to be by staying who you are. You become the hero to yourself by facing the dragons inside of you and earning the gold. If you're not willing to confront the dragon, you don't get the gold. Or even worse, the gold destroys you. That's why myths insist on transformation, not victory. You don't get the gold by sneaking around the dragon. You get it by facing it consciously, by integrating chaos, by becoming more than you were. That's why the hero always changes. If the hero stayed the same, the dragon would win, or the gold would destroy them. The dragon tests whether you're worthy of what you seek. That's not failure. That's information. Now, there's a reason why silence feels threatening. It strips away illusion. It removes distraction. It forces honesty. And that's why Nietzsche warned us that when you stare into the abyss stares back. Silence is that abyss. But if you can sit with it without flinching, without running, you don't disappear, you emerge. If you're enjoying this content and would like to see more, hit that like button, subscribe, and maybe drop a comment or question. And I will read the comments and then respond back to them on my show. We'll talk more next time. Peace.